Sage Wanderer here. In my second ever YouTube video titled, "What Would Civil War Look Like?" I kind of laid out a pathway towards what I was afraid was coming. So I would like to now go back and answer my question that I asked rhetorically. What would civil war look like? This is what civil war looks like. Over a month ago, the United Nations came out with a declaration that the United States was currently then, a month ago, in the position for a civil war to break out. I believe this civil war has gone hot. I believed it went hot when Steve Scalise was shot on a baseball diamond this summer. And I believe this shooter is just another part of it. So, lots of information is coming to light about the incident in Las Vegas. A lot of people are asking, you know, when they thought he had 10 guns, people said, why does he need 10 guns? When they thought he had 16 guns, I produced a video that said why he might need 16 guns and talked about barrel heating and possible meltdown, and that's why he needed backups. But now they're saying he had 23 guns. And honestly, I still think they're just slipping it in, you know, like the old saying, just slip it in, you know, just the tip. So these people are slowly giving us this information and letting it come out, because here's why. Because if they were to tell us everything they knew right now, things would explode. I have reason to believe that this guy was in fact a radicalized left-wing Antifa terrorist. And I would like to lay out some of my proof for that. First of all, you've got the Alex Jones report, apparently coming from inside, that says Antifa literature was all over the place in that room, as well as ISIS-related material. Maybe this is why YouTube struck down my previous video about the Philippine connection, because I suggested that this shooter might not just be radicalized by the left, but he might be radicalized by the left with a connection to ISIS. America's enemies are banding together to take us down. So, we don't know much about this shooter. We're just starting to understand the mass amount of firearms and explosives that he had with him. He had the hallway outside his hotel room covered by multiple cameras. Experts today are suggesting that there was something in his tactics that made them believe he had an exit plan and hoped to survive the encounter. He did have a lot to live for. He was a millionaire who just played poker all the time. So, why all the extra guns? Why all the extra explosives? A report is coming out today that there was an aviation fuel tank, a pair of them, enough to make a bomb explosion that would have been the biggest thing potentially the world has ever seen outside of war. And it was right there, right next to the concert. In fact, there was a maintenance shed next to the aviation fuel tanks that many of the people escaping the gunfire hid in. So his plan was much bigger than he was able to execute. There are reports coming from mainstream media that a device was found that didn't go off near those aviation tanks, that he intended to set up the mother of all kill zones, where he starts shooting at people until they flee towards the safety of the aviation fuel tanks, and then those explode. Or maybe he meant to blow the tanks first, then open fire on the survivors. This is a lot to undertake for one cat, for one guy, for one person to do. So now the theories are flying that this was meant to be a multiple person team effort, that this was part of a larger conspiracy, a group of people that there were not only, let's forget about whether there were more shooters or not. The evidence is suggesting that there were supposed to be more shooters, whether they showed up or not. Many believe they just chickened out when it came right down to it. See my video, Civil War, Have You Got the Guts? So it's starting to look like that this was a group endeavor. So we now have to start hypothesizing and theorizing on which group, what kind of group this was. Because the evidence is pretty clear that this is a group. Investigators, during this press conference yesterday, used the phrase that he had a secret life. So how secret was his secret life? That brings us to the brother. Any of you who saw the 2 press conferences that this brother held out in front of his house in his driveway, I think most, if not all of you, will agree this guy was acting weird as hell. This guy was totally weirded out. Hang on, I need coffee. In my mom cup, because I am a great mom. Just ask my kids, I'm mom, dad. So, what group could it be? Well, this brother, these press conferences were just crazy. They were just insane. They were completely off the chain. I mean, this guy was acting weird. A lot of what I believe to be fake emotion, fake outrage. I can say that I believe, having watched the videos, that the brother is lying and lying and lying some more. One thing about living the life I've lived, if you weren't able to figure out when people were lying to you, honestly, you wouldn't live to be this old, and you wouldn't have done as well as I did in life. Even though now I live in a van down by the river, it's a little bit deceiving. I did all right in life. So, the brother, I spent last night watching several videos where experts in body language and micro expressions, that's micro expressions, not microaggressions. Micro expressions are little changes in the face that give away the truth when you're lying. So what was he lying about? Well, experts agree that he was lying about whether or not he knew about his brother's activities. The implication from the analysis is that the brother, in fact, did know about this before it went down. One expert went as far to combine what the brother was saying, the slip-ups and the double-backs he was making in the second press conference, and his body language. And they made the jump to the assumption, and I have to agree with them, that the brother not only knew about it, but was involved in it. That he may very well have been one of the other shooters. He said his brother did not, at the beginning, he's like, oh, my brother he had handguns. He might have had one long gun. And then he proceeds to tell us about how he knows how much machine guns batter you up because he's rented them and shot them and down at the range and fired fully automatic weapons. Were they training for this? Pretty stinky, pretty suspicious. I'm going to lay off the girlfriend right now because I got tagged and flagged and given a strike for that. But I got to tell you, I'm not done with her. But I'm going to wait till she's been thoroughly vetted by the authorities, and then I'll jump on. But this is a conspiracy. This is a group of people, not one lone shooter. This guy was not a lone wolf. The evidence is coming out. I believe they're playing this so close to the vest because if we knew what really happened, the right-wingers would have a response. A serious response. This may happen anyway, since we're not stupid, and you can't pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. Not anymore. There's too much information. There's too many people talking. It's the hive mentality come back to haunt them. It's come back to bite them in the butt, because now the right is getting the hive mentality too. This is all stirring up into one serious civil war, and you all better be aware, awake, and prepared.